Hi, welcome to the channel. Today is the second day of the seventh chapter, that is manage your environment. Let's start. Be extra cautious about this. Don't let negative thinking people, negators, destroy your plan to think yourself to success. Negators are everywhere and they seem to delight sabotaging the positive progress of others. During college, I buddied for a couple of semesters with WW. He was a fine friend, the kind of fellow who would loan you a little money when you were short or help you in many little ways. Despite this fine loyalty, WW was just about 100% sour and bitter toward life, the further opportunity. He was a real negator. During that period, I was enthusiastic reader of a certain newspaper columnist who stressed hope, the positive approach, opportunity. When WW would find me reading this columnist, or when her column was mentioned, he was he was swing verbally and say, "Oh, for pity's sake, Dave, read the front page. That's where you learn about life. You ought to know that columnist is just making a quick buck, dishing a sweet sauce for the week." When our discussion turned to getting ahead in life, WW was right there with his money making formula. In his own words, it went like this: Dave, there is just three ways to make money, 3 days. Oh, marry a rich woman, to steal in a nice, clean, legal way, or three, get to know the right people, somebody with plenty of pull. WL was always prepared to defend his formula with examples. As taken to the front page, he was quick to cite the one labor reader in a thousand who siphoned off a pile of money from the union till and got away with it. He kept his eyes open for that rare marriage of the fruit picker or to Miss Millionaire. And he knew a fellow who knew a fellow who knew a big man and got cut in on a big deal that made him rich. WW was several years older than I, and he made excellent grades in his engineering classes. I looked up to him in a younger brother sort of way. I came dangerously close to ditching my basic convictions about what it takes to be a success and accepting the negator's philosophy. Fortunately, one evening after a long discussion with WW, I grabbed a hold of myself. It dawned on me that I was listening to the voice of failure. It seemed to me WW was talking more to convince himself than he was to convert me to his way of thinking. From then on, I regarded WW as an object lesson, a sort of experimental guinea pig. Rather than by what he said, I studied him, trying to figure out why he thought the way he did and where such thinking would take him. I turned my negated friend into a personal experiment. I haven't seen WW in 11 years, but a mutual friend saw him just a few months ago. WW is working as a low paid draftsman in Washington. I asked my friend whether WW had changed. No, except if anything, he is more negative than when we knew him. He is having a tough go for of it. He has four children, and on his incomes, it's rough. Old WW has the brains to be making 5 times what he is if he just knew how to use those brains. Negators are everywhere. Some negators, like the one that almost tripped me, and well meaning folks. But others are jealous people who not moving ahead themselves want you to stumble too. They feel inadequate themselves, so they want to make a mediocre person out of you. Be extra careful. Study negators. Don't let them destroy your plans for success. A young office worker recently explained to me why he changed a car pools. One fellow, he said, talked about nothing trip in and trip out except what an awful company we worked for. Regardless of what management did, he found fault. He was negative about everyone from his supervisor on up. The products we sold were no good. Every policy had something wrong with it. As he saw it, absolutely everything had something wrong with it. Each morning I arrived at work tense and wound uptight, and each night after hearing him preach and rant for 45 minutes about all the things that went wrong that day, I got some discouraged and depressed. Finally, I got sense enough to get in another carpool. It's made a world of difference. For now, I am with a group of fellows who can see two sides to a question. That young fellow changed his environment. Smart, once he. Make no mistake about it. You are judged by the company you keep. Birds of feather to flock together. Fellow workers are not all alike. Some are negative, others positive. Some work because they have to, others are ambitious and work for advancement. Some associates belittle everything the boss says or does. Others are much more objective and realize they must be good followers before they can be good leaders. How we think is directly affected by the group we are in. Be sure you are in the flock or that things right. There are pitfalls to watch in your work environment. In every group, there are persons who secretly aware of their own inadequacies, want to stand in your way and prevent you from making progress. Many ambitious fellows have been laughed at, even threatened because they tried to be more efficient and produce more. Let's face it, some folks begin jealous, want to make you feel embarrassed because you want to move upward. This often happens in factories where fellow workers sometimes resent the fellow who want to speed up production. It happens in the military service when a click of negative mind negative minded individual poke fun at and try to humiliate the young soldier who wants to go to officers school. It happens in business too when a few individuals not qualified to advance try to block the way for someone else. You have seen it happen time and again in high schools when a group of lunkheads deride a classmate who has the good sense to make the most of his educational opportunities and come out with the high grades. Sometimes, and all too sadly, often, the bright student was jeered and until he reached the conclusion that it was too smart to be intelligent. Ignore such negative thinkers in your midst. For often the remarks made in your direction aren't so personal as you might at first think. They are merely a projection of the speaker's own feeling of failure and discouragement. Don't let negative thinkers pull you down to their level. Let them slide by like the water from the proverbial duck's back. Killing to people who think progressively, move upward with them. You can do it simply by thinking right. A special word of auction, a special word of caution. Be careful about your source of advice. In most organizations, you will encounter freelance advisors who know the ropes and are tremendously eager to clue you in. One time I overheard a freelance advisor explaining the facts of office life to a bright young man just starting in. Said the advisor, the best way to get along here is just to stay out of everybody's way. If they were get to know you, all they are do is pile more work on you. Be especially careful to stay away from Mr. Z, the department manager. If he thinks you are haven't got enough to do, he will really load you down. This freelance advisor had been with the company for almost 30 years and was still bottom man on the totem pole. What a consultant for a young fellow who wants to move upward in the business. Make it a rule to seek advice from people who know. There's a lot of incorrect thinking that successful people are inaccessible. The plain truth is that they are not. As a rule, it's the more successful people who are the most humble and ready to help, since they are sincerely interested in their work and success, or they are eager to see that the work lives on and that somebody capable of succeeds them when they retire. It's the would be big people who are most often the most abrupt and hard to get to know. A $40 an hour executive made this clear. I am a busy woman, but there's no do not disturb sign on my office door. Counseling people is one of my key functions. We give standardized training of one kind or another to everybody in the company. But personal counseling or tutoring, as I like to call it, is available for the asking. I stand ready to help the fellow who comes in here with either a company or personal problem. The fellow who displays curiosity and exhibits a real desire to know more about his job and how it relates to other jobs is the individual I like most to help. But she said, for obvious reasons, I can't spend time offering advice to anybody who isn't sincere in seeking it. Go first class when you have questions. Seeking advice from a failure is like consulting a quack on how to cure cancer. Many executives today never employ person for key jobs without first interviewing the fellow's wife. One sales executive explained to me, I want to be sure the prospective salesman has his family behind him, a cooperative family that won't object to travel, irregular hours, and other inconveniences which are part of selling, a family that will help the salesman over those inevitable rough spots. As executives today realize that what happens on weekends and between 6 p.m. and 9 a.m. affects directly a person's performance from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. The person with a constructive of the job life nearly always is more successful than the person who lives in a dreary home situation. Let's look in on the traditional way to co-workers John and Milton spend their weekends. Let's look to at the ultimate results. John's psychological diet on weekends in something like this. Usually, one evening is spent with some carefully selected interesting friends. Another evening is generally spent out, perhaps at the movie, at civic or community project, or some friend's house. John devotes Saturday morning to boy scout work. Saturday afternoon he does errands and chores around the house. Often he works on some special project. Currently it's building patio in the backyard. On Sundays, John and his family do something special. One Sunday recently they climbed a mountain, another Sunday they visited a museum. Occasionally they drive into the nearby countryside for John wants to buy some country property in the not too distant future. Sunday evening is spent quietly. John usually reads a book and catches up on the news. Wrapped up, John's weekends are planned. Many refreshing activities keep boredom locked out. John gets plenty of psychological sunshine. Milton's psychological diet is much less well balanced than John's. His weekends are unplanned. Milton is usually pretty tired on Friday night, but he goes through the motion of asking his wife, want to do anything tonight? But the plan dies there. Rarely do Milton and his wife entertain, and rarely are they invited out. Milton sleeps late on the Saturday morning, and the rest of the day is taken up with chores of one kind or another. Saturday night, Milton and his family usually go to a movie or watch TV. What else is there to do? Milton spends most of Sunday morning in bed. Sunday afternoon, they drive over to Bill and Mary's, or Bill and Mary drive over to see them. Bill and Mary are the only couple Milton and his wife visit regularly. Milton's entire weekend is marked by boredom. By the time Sunday evening rolls around, the whole family is on each other's nerves. as a result of cabin fever. There are no knockdown, drag out fights, but there are hours of psychological warfare. Milton's weekend is dull, dearly, dearly boring. Milton gets no psychological sunshine. Now, what's the effect of these two home environments on John and Milton? Over a period of week or two, there probably is no perceptible effect, but over a period of months and years, the effect is tremendous. Thank you so much. We will start on the other day of the same chapter, manage your environment. If you are new on the channel, subscribe the channel and press bell icon so that you will get notification of new video upload. Don't forget to like and share.